The quantum detection array hummed softly in the underground facility beneath the Atacama Desert, its sensors probing the depths of space for any sign of movement. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the massive holographic display, her dark eyes reflecting the cascade of data streaming across multiple screens. 20 years of watching, waiting, and preparing had led to this moment. Contact, the AI assistant announced, its voice eerily calm. Multiple signatures detected at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. Estimated count, 732 vessels. Sarah's hand trembled slightly as she reached for her secure comm unit. This is Chen. Implementation protocols are now active. I repeat, implementation is active. Across Earth, hidden facilities began stirring to life. In New Delhi, Commander David Okafor was awakened by the soft chime of his neural implant. He was moving before his eyes fully opened, muscle memory from countless drills taking over. As he strode through the underground command center, officers and technicians snapped to attention, their movements precise and controlled. No panic, no chaos, just the quiet efficiency of people who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Status report, he barked, entering the primary control room. 73 minutes until they breach Mars orbit, his executive officer responded. All Aegis platforms report ready. Stealth systems operating at optimal capacity. David allowed himself a grim smile. Let them come expecting primitives with chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. Reality would prove far more interesting. The Nexus Collective's flagship emerged from faster-than-light travel in a burst of exotic particles, its crystalline hull gleaming in the dim light of Sol. Supreme Commander Vexthor stood on the bridge, multiple sensory appendages twitching with anticipation as the scans of Earth appeared on their displays. Primitive. They spoke, their translator converting the complex harmonics of their native language into something their bridge crew could understand. As expected, they haven't even established a proper lunar colony. Shall we transmit the standard ultimatum? Their second-in-command inquired. No, Vexthor decided. This species has already demonstrated aggressive tendencies with their nuclear weapons. We'll give them 12 of their hours to surrender unconditionally. Then we'll demonstrate our power by removing one of their smaller continents. In her lab, Sarah watched the alien transmission cascade across every communication channel on Earth. Their arrogance was almost amusing. They hadn't even bothered to encrypt their communications, convinced that humanity couldn't possibly understand their technology. She transferred the signal to her quantum decoder, software that had been perfected over decades of intercepting collective transmissions. The holographic display shifted, showing the tactical data hidden within the transmission's carrier wave. Just as we predicted, she murmured, sending the decoded data to Commander Okafor's command center. They're positioning their fleet exactly where we want them. David studied the tactical overlay, noting how the collected ships had arranged themselves in their standard attack formation, a thing of mathematical beauty that had conquered 1,000 worlds. And like all things of perfect mathematical beauty, it was utterly predictable. Begin transmission of the surrender message, he ordered. Full spectrum, maximum signal strength. Make us look desperate. Across Earth's surface, massive transmitters powered up, broadcasting humanity's apparent capitulation. The message was carefully crafted to appear hastily assembled, filled with the kind of errors and inconsistencies that a panicked species might make. On the collective flagship, Vexthor's sensory appendages rippled with satisfaction as they received Earth's response. See how quickly they submit when faced with real power. Prepare the harvester ships. We'll begin resource extraction within their day. The alien commander never noticed the quantum-encrypted transmission that flashed between Earth's hidden facilities. They didn't detect the thousands of stealth platforms hiding in plain sight throughout their fleet formation. And they certainly didn't realize that every moment they spent gloating was another moment humanity used to perfect their targeting solutions. In her lab, Sarah initiated the final preparations of the virus she spent 15 years developing. Based on recovered collective technology, it would turn their own command and control systems against them. She thought about all the generations of humans who had worked in secret, preparing for this moment while maintaining the facade of a primitive species. Signal from Aegis Control, her AI announced. All platforms report ready, awaiting your authorization. Sarah took a deep breath, thinking of all the other worlds that had fallen to the Collective's empire. How many civilizations had faced this moment and found themselves truly helpless. But humanity had chosen a different path. While appearing weak, they had prepared. While seeming primitive, they had advanced. While looking disorganized, they had unified. Authorization confirmed, she spoke clearly. Execute Protocol Omega. As the collective fleet prepared to begin their standard conquest procedures, they remained completely unaware that humanity was about to teach them a costly lesson about the danger of underestimating their prey. The price of freedom was about to be paid, not by Earth, but by those who thought they could enslave it. The Collective's first strike came exactly as predicted. A demonstration shot aimed at Madagascar. Supreme Commander Vexthor had chosen the target carefully, intending to minimize damage to Earth's valuable resources while maximizing psychological impact. The weapon's energy signature bloomed on their sensors, a lance of pure destruction that could reshape continents. Commander David Okafor stood in Earth's primary defense center, watching the incoming attack with calculated calm. Around him, operators monitored their stations, each controlling clusters of the hidden Aegis platforms that humanity had spent generations perfecting. No one spoke. No one needed to. Collective weapon discharge detected. The defense AI announced. Impact in 15 seconds. David touched his neural implant, connecting directly to the Aegis network. All units, execute Pattern Sierra. Authorization. Okafor 7 Delta 9. The beam struck Earth's atmosphere and vanished. In her laboratory, Sarah Chen allowed herself a small smile as she watched the energy readings spike across her quantum monitors. The Collective's weapon hadn't been stopped or blocked. It had been absorbed, its massive energy redirected into Earth's hidden power grid, feeding the very systems designed to counter their invasion. On the Collective flagship, Vexthor's sensory appendages twisted in confusion. Impossible. Scan the target area. No damage detected. Supreme Commander. Their science officer reported, multiple appendages working frantically across their control surfaces. The weapon energy simply disappeared. Launch a full attack spectrum, Vexthor ordered, their translator struggling to convey their mixture of rage and disbelief. All ships, all weapons, reduced their primary population centers to ash. The Collective fleet came alive, hundreds of ships charging their primary weapons. The space around Earth lit up with enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. But as each beam struck the atmosphere, it vanished, absorbed by technology that shouldn't have existed. In the defense center, David watched the power readings climb. Energy capture at 80% capacity, he announced. Prepare for counterstrike. Sarah's voice came through the command network. The virus is primed. Their systems are still trying to analyze our defenses. They haven't even considered the possibility of a counterattack. All units, David's voice carried across every hidden facility on Earth. Execute Operation Daybreak. The Aegis platforms revealed themselves, quantum shields shimmering into visibility around Earth. But they weren't just defensive systems. Each platform began to pulse, redirecting the absorbed energy of the Collective's own weapons back at them in precisely calculated bursts. The first ship died silently, its crystalline hull shattering as its own energy signature was turned against it. Then another fell, and another. The perfect formation of the Collective fleet began to break apart as ships tried to evade attacks coming from weapons that shouldn't have existed. Impossible. Vexthor's translator glitched with the intensity of their emotion. They are primitives. We saw their technology level, their satellites, their primitive fission weapons. Supreme Commander, their tactical officer interrupted. We're detecting quantum signatures throughout the system. Thousands of them. They're coming from from ships we didn't detect before. Sarah watched through the quantum network as Captain Maya Patel's stealth fleet decloaked behind the collective's lines. Humanity's most advanced vessels, hidden in plain sight using technology that merged human innovation with reversed engineered collective systems. This is Captain Patel to all Earth forces. Maya's voice was cool and professional. The Hunter fleet is engaging. Show them why humanity doesn't bow to tyrants. The battle that followed would be studied for centuries to come. The collective's mighty fleet, which had conquered 1,000 worlds, found itself caught between hammer and anvil. Every tactic they tried was countered before they could execute it. Every advantage they thought they held turned out to be a carefully crafted illusion. In his command center, David watched the collective ships begin to retreat, their perfect formation shattered. "Send the message," he ordered. "All frequencies, all languages." Sarah's voice carried across every communication channel, transmitted directly into the collective's command networks. "This is Earth. For centuries, we watched you consume world after world. We studied. We prepared. We waited. Today, you learn why. Consider this a warning. Earth is not your prey. We are not your subjects. Leave now and spread the word. Humanity will not bow." The collective fleet fled, leaving behind the wreckage of their shattered invasion force. As David watched them retreat, he thought about all the generations of humans who had worked in secret, maintaining the facade of a primitive species while preparing for this moment. "Status report," he called out. 37% of the collective fleet destroyed, his executive officer reported. Another 45% damage. The rest are in full retreat. No significant damage to Earth's defense systems. The Aegis network is operating at 93% efficiency. Sarah's voice came through his neural link, private this time. "They'll be back, you know, once they recover from the shock." "Let them come," David replied. "Humanity's done hiding. It's time to show the galaxy who we really are." Captain Maya Patel stood on the bridge of the ESS Nightshade, watching the quantum display track their progress through collective space. 3 weeks had passed since Earth's defensive victory, and humanity was done playing the prey. The stealth ship's hull, incorporating both human innovation and reversed engineered collective technology, rendered them invisible to conventional sensors. "Status of the network?" she asked, eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Sleeper cells report ready in 17 major collective systems," her XO responded, "waiting for your signal to begin Operation Avalanche." Maya allowed herself a small smile. For over a century, Earth had been secretly placing agents throughout collective space, appearing as refugees, merchants, even willing collaborators from conquered worlds. They had infiltrated every level of the Empire's bureaucracy. Now it was time to wake them up. "Send the activation code," she ordered. "Authorization. Patel, 9 Echo 3. In her lab back on Earth, Sarah Chen monitored the quantum communications network as activation signals spread across collective space. The virus she developed was piggybacking on their own transmissions, spreading through their supposedly secure networks like a digital wildfire. "Commander Okafor," she called through her neural link. "The first phase is complete. Their command and control systems are compromised in 23% of targeted systems." David's voice came back clear and confident. "Excellent. Captain Patel, you have authorization to proceed with Phase 2. The Nightshade's engines flared silently as they approached their first target, a major collective shipyard in the Proxima system. Maya studied the tactical overlay, noting the positions of the other 11 stealth ships in her battle group. Each vessel carried weapons specifically designed to exploit weaknesses in collective technology that humanity had spent decades identifying. "Multiple contacts," her sensor officer reported. 4 capital ships, 12 support vessels. They're still running standard defensive patterns. "They haven't learned," Maya noted. "Deploy quantum mines. Prepare to engage." Across collective space, chaos erupted as carefully placed human agents activated their protocols. Navigation systems suddenly failed, sending ships off course. Defense grids went dark. Communication networks carried false orders. 1,000 small acts of sabotage, coordinated through quantum entanglement networks that the collective couldn't detect, let alone stop. Supreme Commander Vexthor, now tasked with defending against human expansion, received reports of failures across their territory. Their sensory appendages writhed in frustration as another update arrived. Impossible, they rage. How are they striking everywhere at once? How did they hide this level of technology? Supreme Commander, their tactical officer interrupted. We've lost contact with the Proxima shipyards. In the debris field that had once been the Collective's largest military shipyard, Maya's battle group regrouped. The attack had taken less than 20 minutes. Not a single human ship had been lost. All objectives achieved, she reported through the quantum network. Moving to secondary targets, Sarah's voice came through the command channel. Captain, we're detecting massive fleet movements throughout collective space. They're abandoning their outer territories, pulling back to defensive positions around their core worlds. As predicted, David added, they've never faced an enemy that could strike at their infrastructure like this. Their entire strategy is based on overwhelming force against inferior opponents. They don't know how to fight an enemy that can match and exceed their technological level. Maya studied the tactical updates flowing through her neural link. Human strike forces were reporting similar successes across collective space. The empire that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia was being systematically dismantled by the very species they had dismissed as primitives. New orders from Earth Command, her communications officer announced. We're to proceed to Phase 3. All ships, prepare for long-range deployment. As the Nightshade and her battle group vanished into quantum space, Maya thought about the generations of humans who had lived and died preparing for this moment. The collective had assumed humanity's apparent technological backwardness was natural development. They never considered it might be a carefully maintained deception, designed specifically to lure them into a trap centuries in the making. Message from Dr. Chen, her XO reported. The virus has achieved 60% penetration of collective networks. Their entire command structure is compromised. Maya nodded, reviewing the battle plans for their next target. Send word to all cells. Operation Avalanche proceeds as planned. It's time to show the collective that humanity doesn't just defend. We liberate. Throughout conquered space, subjugated species watched in amazement as their oppressors' mighty fleets fell into disarray. Humanity's message spread from world to world. Freedom was no longer a distant dream. The price would be high, but Earth would ensure it was paid in full. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the ancient facility deep beneath the Antarctic ice, her breath visible in the cold air. Around her, holographic displays showed the progression of humanity's counter-offensive against the collective. But she wasn't here to monitor the war. She was here to understand its beginning. The facility predated the modern defense network by centuries. Its walls held humanity's first contact with the collective, or rather, the evidence of what the collective had done to others. Display historical record Alpha 1, she commanded. The room filled with holographic images of a crashed ship, discovered in 1843 in this very location. Not a collective vessel, but one of their victims, carrying a warning that had changed the course of human history. Security code confirmed. The facility's AI announced. Accessing complete historical database. Sarah watched as the true story of humanity's preparation unfolded before her. In 1843, the crashed ship had contained more than just technology. It carried a detailed database of collective expansion, their tactics, their weaknesses. Most importantly, it carried a message from a dying civilization. They cannot be fought conventionally. They must be deceived. Commander David Okafor's voice came through her neural link. Having a history lesson while we're at war, Doctor. The past is giving us our future, Commander, she replied, studying the data streams. The collective's primary weakness isn't their technology or their tactics. It's their absolute certainty in their own superiority. In orbit above a former collective stronghold, Captain Maya Patel received the encrypted transmission from Earth. The Nightshade's quantum computers decoded the historical data, revealing the full scope of humanity's great deception. "They never stood a chance," she murmured, reading through centuries of careful planning. "Every scientific breakthrough we publicly announced was decades behind what we'd actually achieved. Every space mission was choreographed to appear primitive." The history unfolded across her neural display. The space race of the 1960s, carefully staged to hide the quantum propulsion tests happening in secret. The International Space Station, deliberately designed to look primitive while housing advanced sensor arrays that monitored collective movements. Even the modern Internet had been crafted to appear far less sophisticated than humanity's true quantum communication network. "New data from Earth Command," her XO reported. "Dr. Chen's team has completed their analysis of the collective's command structure. The tactical display updated, showing the true nature of their enemy's weakness. The collective's entire empire was built on absolute control, rigid hierarchies, and unquestioning obedience. They had conquered 1,000 worlds by being stronger, never smarter. Their technology had stagnated centuries ago, while humanity had quietly surpassed them." Sarah's voice came through the quantum network, addressing all Earth forces simultaneously. "The collective's command structure is their critical vulnerability. They cannot adapt without explicit orders from their superiors. Every decision must flow through their hierarchy. And now, thanks to our virus, we control that hierarchy." In his command center, David watched as the next phase of humanity's plan unfolded. "All units, prepare for Operation Oracle. Authorization. Full spectrum." The virus that Sarah had spent 15 years developing wasn't just disrupting the collective's communications, it was rewriting them. Throughout their empire, ships began receiving new orders, apparently from their supreme command. Fleets were redirected. Defense stations powered down. Supply lines were rerouted. "They never imagined," Sarah continued, "that a primitive species could understand their technology well enough to turn it against them. Their arrogance made them vulnerable. Their rigid hierarchy made them predictable." Maya studied the tactical updates flowing through her neural link. The collective's empire was tearing itself apart from within, its own command structure becoming its greatest weakness. "All ships, prepare for final phase engagement. The collective's leadership will be attempting to regain control. We need to ensure they can't." In the Antarctic facility, Sarah stood before the ancient warning message, its alien text now as familiar to her as her own language. "We learned from those who fell before us," she said softly. "We adapted. We planned. We deceived. And now we'll succeed where others failed." The quantum network hummed with activity as Earth's forces prepared for the final confrontation. Centuries of preparation, generations of sacrifice, all leading to this moment. The collective had thought they were facing primitives. Instead, they were facing an enemy that had spent 200 years preparing specifically to defeat them. "All units report ready," David announced. "Operation Oracle is green across all sectors." Maya's voice came through the command channel, cool and professional. "Hunter fleets in position. We're ready to end this." Sarah looked one last time at the historical displays, at the countless humans who had lived and died maintaining humanity's greatest deception. "Send the final authorization," she ordered. "It's time to show the collective the true price of freedom." The collective's home system blazed with weapons fire as humanity's final offensive began. Captain Maya Patel's stealth fleet emerged from quantum space directly behind the Empire's last defensive line, their advanced ships making mockery of the collective's supposedly impenetrable sensor grid. "All ships, execute attack pattern Delta," she ordered, watching the tactical display as her fleet engaged. "Remember, we're not here for destruction. We're here to liberate." The Nightshade's quantum weapons fired with surgical precision, disabling rather than destroying the collective's defensive platforms. Throughout the system, other human strike teams were doing the same, systematically dismantling the Empire's last bastion of power. In Earth's primary command center, Commander David Okafor monitored the battle's progress. "Status of Operation Oracle. The virus has achieved 97% penetration of their networks. Sarah Chen's voice came through his neural link. Their entire command structure is compromised. They're trying to purge their systems. But she paused, allowing herself a small smile. They're actually spreading it faster. The collective's supreme command center orbited their homeworld, a massive structure of crystalline architecture that had stood as a symbol of their power for millennia. Inside, Supreme Commander Vexthor watched in mounting horror as their empire crumbled. How? They demanded, sensory appendages writhing in distress. How did we not see this coming? Supreme Commander, their tactical officer interrupted. We're detecting quantum signatures throughout the system. Thousands of them. The humans. They're everywhere. The tactical display told the story. Human ships appeared impossible places, striking with weapons that shouldn't exist, using strategies that no primitive species should understand. But it wasn't just military might that was bringing down the collective. Their own technology was turning against them, their rigid command structure becoming a weapon in humanity's hands. Dr. Chen, Maya called through the quantum network. We're in position, ready to execute final phase. Sarah stood in her lab, surrounded by holographic displays showing the culmination of centuries of human preparation. Initiating override protocol, she announced. All units stand by. The virus that humanity had spent generations developing reached its final form. Throughout collective space, their technology began to shut down, not with violence or destruction, but with precise, calculated efficiency. Defense systems powered down. Weapons went offline. Communication networks fell silent. Message from the collective Supreme Command. David's communications officer reported. They're requesting terms. A silence fell over Earth's command center. This was the moment humanity had spent 2 centuries preparing for. David exchanged glances with his officers before speaking. Put me through to all channels, he ordered. Both our forces and theirs. His voice carried across the quantum network, reaching every ship, every station, every world in what had once been collective space. This is Commander David Okafor of Earth. To the collective leadership, your empire is ended. Not through destruction, but through the very control you sought to impose on others. You thought technology alone made you superior. You never understood that true strength lies in innovation, in adaptation, in the willingness to appear weak while growing strong. He paused, letting the words sink in. To all peoples who suffered under collective rule, you are now free. Earth stands ready to assist in your reconstruction. We offer not conquest, but cooperation, not subjugation, but partnership. The response came not just from the collective leadership, but from hundreds of formerly subjugated worlds. Acceptance, relief, hope. Aboard the Nightshade, Maya watched as the collective's mighty fleets powered down, their crews choosing surrender over pointless resistance. All ships, stand down weapons, she ordered. Begin recovery operations. Sarah's voice came through the command network one final time. Operation Oracle is complete. The collective's central eye has been fully integrated with our control systems. Their ability to wage war is ended. In the aftermath, as human ships began the process of helping former collective worlds rebuild, David stood in the Antarctic facility where it had all begun. The warning message that had started humanity's greatest deception still glowed on the ancient displays. Send word to all Earth forces, he commanded. The price of freedom has been paid, not in destruction, but in dedication, not in conquest, but in cunning, and most importantly, not just for humanity, but for all species who value liberty. The quantum network hummed with acknowledgement as humanity began its new role, not as conquerors replacing the collective, but as liberators helping the galaxy rebuild. They had proven that victory doesn't always go to the strongest or the most advanced, but to those willing to plan, to adapt, and to recognize that true power lies not in domination, but in the capacity to free others from it. As the sun rose over Earth, marking the dawn of a new era, Sarah Chen looked at the tactical display showing thousands of freed worlds beginning their recovery. The price of freedom, she murmured, was worth every deception, every sacrifice, every moment of waiting. Because in the end, we didn't just win our freedom, we won it for everyone.